Thank you everyone for joining. Again, like JoAnn said, if you have to go, we totally, of course, understand. It's been an hour and 15 minutes almost, but we have like almost 27 questions from
wow.
for all of you wonderful ladies. So we're going to try to get to as many as possible, and let's see where this takes us. So I'm going to start with the first question, and I think, okay, let's see. Many cosmetic manufacturers are offering shades of concealers. How do you choose what shade of concealer best complements you when you have dark circles under eyes?
Good question.
Okay, well, you should use a tone that's a couple of shades lighter than your skin tone. And then I personally like to take the foundation up under the eyes first, just very, very lightly. And then you'll see what needs covering with the concealer. And if you use a shade that's about 2 shades lighter than your natural skin tone, and then you would apply that. If you've got bags, then don't put it actually on the bag of the eye. You would put that in the hollow, just underneath the bag, and that then balances out, because the bag will actually be highlighted just by the just daylight, and then the bag will be in a shadow. So you want to put the highlight of the concealer just in the shadow beneath the bag, and that should balance everything out and conceal the bag.
Great. The next question is, do you recommend any cleansing, moisturizing steps, products prior to applying makeup?
Oh, yes, there's any, I mean, you could go to a health store and pick up lots of clean, chemical-free.
I'm going to add a tiny little tip, and I'm not a makeup artist, but I am going to say that if you have really dry skin or really dehydrated parts of your face, if you have combo skin, I would make sure that you really moisturize very well before you apply the foundation, because it's like a skincare base. So if you are, your skin is dehydrated or dry, it's just going to soak up kind of all the yummy skin nourishing ingredients, and you kind of want that to be taken care of before. So, good moisturizer, primer will really help with that, and then the foundation.
Yeah. Can I just add to that too? Yes, we need to hydrate and we need a good moisturizer, but some people's skin is dry, not just from being dehydrated, it also needs oil. So they need a good night cream. Mm-hmm. It's like having food and water. You need both, and your skin needs both too. So you would need to have a good night cream that's richer, and that will give you the feed your skin, and then you need a really good moisturizer for the daytime to put that hydration back in.
Mm-hmm. Great, that was a good team answer. Okay, what can you do to stop the mascara and eyeliner or eyeshadow on the bottom of the eyes from making you have racoon eyes later in the day?
Oh, well, I'm going to jump in here because our mascara is water-based. So it does not necessarily leave racoon eyes, because what racoon eyes are caused by is the oil of the mascara hits the oil of your skin and rubs off. Our mascara will not rub off with oil, so it won't transfer with the oil in your skin, so you won't get racoon eyes. However, if you are going to a wedding or a funeral or something emotional, you may not want to wear it because it is water-based and it will be very dramatic. Great tip for actresses, though, if you have a crying scene, wear it. It's going to be fabulous. Yes. And in terms of eyeliner and that kind of thing, the other thing that works really well is to use an organic aloe juice instead of water. So if you're going to do a cat eye, you use your aloe juice instead of the water, and it will stay much longer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, that came from Amy, one of our lip glosses. She was a makeup artist, and she discovered that one.
Wow, that's really cool.
Do you offer personal consultation to determine color palette?
Would that be for me?
I think JoAnn, probably.
JoAnn.
We do have
probably JoAnn.
A makeup consultation. maybe you can talk to it.
Yes, we do. The answer is we do. You can do like a one-on-one, personal consultation via Zoom, which you can schedule using our website, or, we do like chat or email responses and shade matching all the time. So you can hit us up on the website with, if you're looking for color, or send us an email. The best way is to send us some pictures of yourself in natural light and wearing as little makeup as possible. But we can also work without that if you're not comfortable with that. So yeah. The next question is, do you recommend using a primer under the foundation, or is working into the skin the most important trick to having foundation stay all day?
Yes, a primer is a great idea. We didn't use it today, but a primer will help particularly if you have an oily skin, a primer is great because that helps to seal in some of the oil. But again, we keep saying this, I know, but a lot of it's personal taste. I actually don't use a primer, but I know a lot of people like to use one. I don't have a problem with my makeup staying. So by all means, try it. And if you do have a slightly oily skin, then it's a great addition to your makeup bag.
Absolutely. I'm gonna add also, because I'm a personal fan of the primer. I have like pretty large pores around this area, and the first time I used it was JoAnn was there, and I was just like, this is magical. Where are my pores? They're gone.
Yeah.
They disappeared. And then I put on the foundation and the buffer brush, and I'm good to go. I've got it, I look like I know what I'm doing. So it is, for me, it's like a huge game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next question from Misty is, do you recommend the buffer for foundation application at all?
Oh, absolutely. Again, that's something that's a really personal taste, but for me, it's the only thing that I use for my foundation, and I know Noemie as well, right? Mm-hmm. So we, again, every artist gets to a place the way that they feel comfortable and what works for your skin, right? So, absolutely. Hands down, it's my favorite brush.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the same exact thing why I use the shader brush. Like that's not the foundation brush, but I just like the way that it goes on. So it's really what feels best on your face and what works best for you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And some people like to use the buffer brush just to finish the application. I think, Margot, you mentioned something like that during the class, was like you can use whatever tool you like to apply and then just kind of buff everything out at the end and make
to polish it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, joining from Atlanta, Georgia. Awesome. Is there a concealer for dark eye circles?
The caramel is a really good color.
Yeah, that's actually the one that I used today.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Mine is used. Mine is loved.
It is well loved.
It's loved. I love this concealer. I highly, highly, highly recommend this concealer. Definitely. Because I can tend to have, same thing that I said earlier with a lot of my scarring. My skin is so light that I tend to scar, and the colors and pigmentation I struggle with sometimes. So sometimes underneath my eyes, it's the same exact thing for bags or any kind of lines and discoloration. So the caramel really, really helps me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Personally, I like using the medium first, like to kind of cancel out the dark areas, and then I'll go in with the light concealer to brighten and finish concealing. But that is like that peachy kind of tone really helps for the dark circles.
Mm-hmm. But not good for darker skin though.
No.
It would go gray. It would go gray.
No.
Yeah.
How do you clean your brushes and how often?
Oh, good question.
They should be, you can wash them with some light shampoo. You can use a light shampoo and rinse them well, and then dry them flat on some on paper towel or something. Probably once a week is enough. If you're using the same colors, and make sure you keep the brush that you're using, each color, keep them separate so that you're not mixing up the colors on the brush. But if you're using it just on yourself, then probably once a week is good, especially these days with the whole COVID thing. And I think it's good to keep them as.
And the foundation.
No, I didn't say dry shampoo, Manon, whoever. I didn't say dry shampoo. I said use a gentle shampoo, like or a baby shampoo would be good.
Mm-hmm.
As a makeup artist, you know, when we're working professionally, we use, you know, a 99% alcohol or 70% alcohol for 5 minutes to make sure everything is completely disinfected. But when you're working on your own brushes, it's good, you know, I think a shampoo is enough. And if you're really concerned, you can dip it in a little bit of 70% alcohol, leave it there for, you know, 5 minutes or so, and then let it dry.
Yeah.
Great. Dale asks, is there a technique for powder with more mature skin?
Well, with the silky setting powder, it's really not a problem because there's no talc in it to start with, which is often what causes powder to look very chalky and also go into the creases. It's aloe, and JoAnn can explain more about that. And you use just a light touch, particularly in areas like under the eyes. You'd put very, very little, if any. I like to put a little because again, it just sets everything. But again, I went back to using a powder puff. I like powder puffs because you can put a tiny bit on the puff and then just press it onto the face, like and then dust off the excess with a brush. But yes, just very little, and there's not a problem with the silky setting powder usually at all.
It's great.
Oh, what was that?
I hit my table. Okay, next question from Emma. How do you stop the powder from setting into your face lines?
Oh.
A similar question to the last one. You just use very little of it to begin with. And, you know, if you do have quite strong crease lines, if you just plump out your cheek like this, when you pat it, that will just set it, and then it won't create that crease. But use very little powder. You're not supposed to be looking like a flour bag when you put it on. You just need a tiny bit just to fix it. Yes, Dr. Bronner's to wash brushes. Somebody's just mentioned that's excellent.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Yes, I love it.
Nancy asks if we'll be providing a list of the steps that we can use for future reference. So I will quickly answer that. I know we have a makeup chart that has some of the steps written on. We did record today's webinar, so that will be available as well. And then if you are signed up for our email, we will send out a list of the products, like the actual colors and products that were used during today's class. So I hope
the makeup chart is really beautiful too. And if you guys will see it with SAPPHO, but I'm also going to repost it on my Instagram too, so you guys will see the makeup chart. Awesome. Norma did a beautiful job with it.
She sure did. Yeah, there it is. Awesome. Yeah. So, and if you have, like, you have a specific question, like, just email us hello@mysappho.com. That's usually myself and JoAnn that answer those emails, so we'll know what you're talking about for sure. Yeah. Next question from Anne. What are the benefits of setting powder? Does it make my foundation last longer?
Well, yes, it fixes it. It sets, as it says in the name, setting powder, silky setting powder. It sets the makeup. And then you're good to go. Throughout the day, you might need to add a little bit extra on the nose, or what we call the T-zone, which is the forehead and down the nose and the chin. That sometimes gets a little bit shiny, so you might need to add a little bit more. But the rest of the face, the makeup is set. And also it stops, if you're using a powder blush and obviously powder shadows, if you haven't put powder on, it can sometimes grab. So it'll grab the color in certain spots. where you don't want it. You want it to go on smoothly. So the powder just creates a barrier for the foundation before you put the powder blush on.
Great.
You're welcome, Anne.
Lana asks, okay, this is a cool question. My daughter is 18 and an actress. She has some atrophic rolling acne scars, that's a mouthful, which appear in certain lighting. How does makeup and lighting work with these type of scars on film? Is there a particular makeup or tip that can help? Wow.
Well, I think everything that we did today really is
kind of covered that.
Yeah, we covered a lot of the, I mean, personally, I could speak from having acne scars and being a Black actress, you know, the lighting is not always amazing on us. People of color the lighting is not always perfected, which is different from our white brothers and sisters who sometimes their lighting is really perfected. So their skin can be looking really glowy and beautiful. So what I like to do is really perfect it completely off screen before I go on screen, so that when it's time for me to be on camera, even if somebody does not know how to light me, I don't have to depend on the lighting to make sure that my imperfections are masked.
Yeah, from a makeup point of view, as we talked about when Margot was doing her makeup, if you've got any raised areas, pimples or acne, then you can stipple the foundation to really block it out, powder, and then right before you go on camera, make sure you keep those areas in particular very matte, because if there's a slight, anything that's slightly raised, a pimple or the edge of the acne, the light will bounce off the bump of the pimple. So if you keep it matte, then it diffuses it and it won't be so evident. So keep any areas that you've got of any areas of concern very matte, those areas very matte.
That's why I love this soaking setting powder so much, because, and JoAnn told me too, because of the aloe in it. Aloe really does well. I mean, it's a cooling effect, so it has like a nice kind of centered cooling effect, anti-inflammation effect on the skin. So if there is something that's like irritating, sometimes like in the morning, I'll have like a new breakout and it's super irritated by my mask or something, or like a piece of clothing that hit polyester or whatever. And if it's just, it needs just nice cooling. So sometimes I'll just put the powder on at the end and it gives that nice aloe anti-inflammation effect, and it really does come down. And it does the same exact thing that Norma just said, which alleviates the highlight from the lighting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hope that answers that.
Yeah.
Kathleen asks, once you get used to the routine, how long does it take to go through all the steps? Also, is it recommended to use every day, or should you take days off to let skin refresh?
You can put the makeup on every day. The secret is actually taking your makeup off every night. Don't go to bed wearing makeup. The makeup is not harmful, particularly this makeup, because there's no chemicals in it, but you shouldn't go to bed with makeup on, and then it's safe to wear every single day. As far as how long all the steps take, you will get faster. I mean, I can do that whole thing in like 15 minutes. You can do it very, very quickly. Just throw it all on very quickly, because you get to know your face, you get to know all the contours of your face, you get comfortable with the techniques, and also with the brushes and things. You know exactly how to work them, and you can do it very, very quickly.
And sometimes, like when I go out, I don't need this full beat, you know, like I don't need the contour. Exactly. I don't need the shadow. Like I really just, I love the foundation, which takes me like a second to do. I squirt it on my hand, I brush it, I put it on, I buffer brush it out, I put a little mascara on and a little mascara on my brows, and that's it. Like put a little gloss on.
Maybe a bit of blush.
Yeah. So that's like a very quick, you know, if you're in a rush and you just want something that's like a nice coverage, you can even just add that skin luminizer, and gives like a really nice highlight, and it looks like you really went in on your skin, but you didn't. It's just like, you know, it's a nice little staple piece that just adds a little hint of something.
I'm going to do something that's going to, this is what I like to do.
Oh,
That's
nice.
is that the Rita? Is that the Rita?
No, this is hazy.
Oh, that's hazy.
Wow.
And how pretty is that?
Look at that.
Right?
We
So
can't
that was
see
the
JoAnn.
hazy, that was the hazy lip gloss that
A
you
little
used
bit
as
of
blush.
hazy lip gloss. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Second.
Or the Rita is very cool
The
too.
Rita
To
is
put
very
on.
pretty too. Absolutely.
I'm gonna steal
Yeah.
that. I've never done that before. That's a good one.
That was came from my mom. My mom used to, you know, put the lipstick on her cheek.
Yeah. Mix and
That's
match.
like that's like the same thing as like, you know, like squeezing your cheeks, making them, you know, woozy.
Yeah.
I've done it with Amy also, which is like the dark peach color when I want to have like a more monochromatic. If I'm wearing it on my lips, like kind of blended it and it matches my eye colors.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will, hi Will. Any suggestions for a really clean, natural men's routine? Eyes, etc.
So what, etc.?
Eyes.
Okay. Yes. I mean, I would. You can do the foundation. If you need to do some contouring, you can do that. Be very, very careful with that. Just you don't need the blush. Or you. I mean, again, you can use it if you want to. But and then a tiny bit of mascara. And then you can just fill in your brows. Make sure you get a color that matches your brows, and just you can do pretty much everything that we've done, but just tone it right down. It depends the look you're going for. Some men like to look like they're wearing a lot of makeup, and some want to just, especially if you're doing an interview, like there's all these Zoom interviews and things people are doing, they want to look better on camera. Then a light foundation and just tiny bit of mascara, and then fill in your eyebrows a little bit, and you can look great without looking like you're wearing any makeup at all.
Also, the CC cream is really great for men as well.
Yes, I was forgetting that. The CC cream, yes, of course. Yeah.
Like a few of our male clients actually really like the CC cream and the concealer, I would say. I think because they're easy to apply, you just put them on like creams with your fingers, and they just kind of, can hide certain things, look fresh, and depends
how much coverage you want. If your skin needs a lot of coverage, then you might need a very sheer the foundation. But yeah, the CC cream is great for that.
Barbara Kelly says hello, Norma.
Hey, Barbara. Hi, Barbara.
On New Moon, right? On the Eclipse movie. So
yes.
Hello. So hi, Barbara.
Evelyn asks, and I know Evelyn from Instagram, she is in Austria and she's a makeup artist.
Oh, cool.
Instead of a spoon handle to scrape things out, I sometimes use the pointy end of a makeup brush.
Absolutely.
I must add, I always clean and disinfect these ends too, not only the bristles.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the reason. I agree with you, Evelyn. That's the only reason why I didn't use the bottom of my brushes, is because, if you don't wash your brushes until like only once a week, then those brushes, like I put my brushes just in like a little cup, like a little makeup cup, even like a little glass, and I just have them out. And if they're all sitting together for a week, I don't really want to keep taking them inside of the concealer, because it kind of becomes the same thing as like your fingers. But I know that with my utensils, they're really nice and clean because we keep them clean. Yeah. So
just don't use Q-tips to scoop it out, because you've got all the little fibers that will end up in your product, and that's not going to be good. So if you're tempted, don't use a Q-tip.
Mm-hmm. Stacy asks, if you're using a concealer brush, should you use that to take it out of the pot, or do you need a fork, spoon, or some sort of cosmetic tools to put it on the back of your hands?
No, you need a spatula, which is another name for a tool. You just need a scoopy thing.
Again, I use the spoon. I used my spoon today. I used this side for the concealer, and I used this side for the luminizer. And I just put a little bit on my hand for the concealer. And for applying, if you guys, just a reminder, when I put it on, I really put it on with my middle finger or my ring finger, because it's just like a nice little light press on my eyes.
Yeah, we like to use what we call the ring finger, which is the second from the end, particularly under the eyes, because that's the finger that has the least pressure, and you're not going to damage that delicate skin under your eye. So it's important to really be careful around the eye area with the skin there.
Great. when I apply foundation and setting powder over my acne, both tend to highlight any dryness and imperfections. I'm usually afraid to use more product because I don't want to look cakey. How do you deal with the flaky dryness of acne? I do exfoliate, but my skin is so red and sensitive from the acne. My skin is rarely without dryness, except right after I mask. I find myself needing to go over my chin and mouth area with tweezers after I apply makeup to deal with the flakiness from acne.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you moisturizing well? Because some people, when they have acne, they think that they shouldn't use a moisturizer. You should use a moisturizer on that area particularly, and it should be an oil-free moisturizer, because it's getting dry because it's thirsty. It needs moisture. So make sure that you keep that area after you've cleansed really thoroughly. Use a moisturizer, and then it shouldn't be as flaky. It should actually even out, and the skin should settle down, and it should be soft. Then you can apply your foundation, and then the powder. And like I said, you can keep the powder to make it matte. But you need to moisturize. Don't be afraid of a moisturizer. If you have oily skin, just don't use an oil-based moisturizer.
I do have to say, with the foundation, especially with this SAPPHO foundation, particularly instead of the CC cream and the concealer, it has, when you put it on your hand and it activates that heat, it really goes on nice and hydrating. Like I feel like sometimes with a lot of my flakiness around, especially around my jawline, when I put on SAPPHO makeup, it almost sinks into my skin, and it really does give like a nice hydrating effect to it and feel to it. So I don't know, the concealer really feels good, especially when like my skin is flaky.
Yes.
Super interesting. Lorna, hi Lorna. Do you have recommendations for makeup artists working off a metal palette to warm up creamy products? Do you work off a gloved hand or just mix on the palette to stay sanitary during these extra cautious times of COVID? Great question.
I use a glass, and I use a metal palette, but I love my hands. So as long as you've really washed your hands thoroughly as a makeup artist, wash your hands thoroughly, and then I use a hand sanitizer, and I tend to use I've got a natural hand sanitizer. Dr. Bronner's makes one, and there's one called JO, and there's many. Make sure your hands are clean and sanitized. Then you can actually use your hand as a palette because it's clean. So, but the warmth of the hand does help a lot of the products it thins them out, and they're easier to apply. You get a much more sheer look.
Cool. Linda asks, oh, great.
You're welcome, Lorna.
Any tips for color correcting hyperpigmentation on dark skin? Thanks.
The hyperpigmentation is a problem, because a lot of darker skins, and being a person of color myself, I have some, and I just literally use the concealer. I put the foundation on first, and then use the concealer, and then literally pat it on. Stipple is the word we use it in the business. And there's a great coverage for, again, make sure your hands are clean. Thank you, whoever that was. And stipple it over those areas that have to create an extra coverage over those areas.
The other thing too that I just want to mention is our concealers are the only thing in our line that are not NSF 305, which means it has to be 70% organic. We actually put an extra 5% of minerals in, and not mined by children, by the way. Our minerals are low heavy metal minerals and are not mined by children, but we put an extra 5% of color in there. So when you get the dark concealer for dark skin, has a lot of orange in it. So the orange is so the color will actually do some of the work that you need it to do. So it's not just product, you're not just covering it, you're also covering it with a color that is going to counteract the darkness. So we've tried to punch in a little bit more orange in for the darker colors, for the darker skin, to help deal with that problem.
But you have some lovely tones of the foundation which are darker. Tracy is a really nice, very, very dark, warm color. And you know what I sometimes do, if I'm using some of the darker colors and I need more coverage, I'll put some out, this is for makeup artists particularly, I'll put some out on my palette and leave it to sit for a minute, and it will thicken.
Yes.
And then you can kind of use that as a concealer. You can then put that on, and that is great coverage as well.
And I have to say, one of my favorite colors is Pam, and
Pam is wonderful. Yes,
colored for you know, the incomparable Pam Grier, and it is such a rich, beautiful tone. I just and our actress model Nika that you see, she's wearing it and on all our pictures, and honestly, there's no touch-ups on her skin. Like, it just matches perfectly.